Well, hello and welcome to another Transform Tuesday. I'm Dave McCormick, VP of Products and Services here at Alpha Software. And today we are going to be talking about Alpha Transform, of course, and answering your questions. But before we get started, I just want to make sure that my audio and video is coming through. Is it? That would be great. Today, what we're going to be going over is OnSubmit events. Let me jump down here. I think I'm at slide 182, and we're going to be talking about OnSubmit Actions. Now, OnSubmit Actions are those things that happen after a form has been submitted to TransForm. That could be a form that you have submitted from the TransForm Filler application, the TransForm mobile app, or it could be when you submit a new form using the Management Console is another way to submit a form. It will fire off this OnSubmit action. Now, the OnSubmit action can do one of two things, or it can actually do both of them in combination as well. One is that it can send an email, and you can include all of the data from the form or part of the data from the form included in that email. The other thing that you can do is you can also contact a REST API endpoint. So if you're tying TransForm into another system, you probably want to use that feature. Now, like I said, this feature, this OnSubmit action, has been around for a little while, and a few of you have used it. I think I've done a demo of it before, but this is how it was defined. Over here where it says click help for the syntax, which imagine I'm clicking on that, it shows you what the syntax is that you need to enter, and it is in JSON format. So for example, in this action, we set the action to send email. We're sending it to Fred Smith at Company 1 and John Jones also at Company 1. The subject is transform data. We're sending it in HTML format, and we're going to have it apply to all of the form IDs. So this is JSON. It's not rocket science. Almost anyone can figure it out, but it's also not the nicest way of programming. And if you had a bunch of actions that you wanted to perform, it might be sort of a pain to look through this. Also, it could be a little bit error prone. If you've forgotten to put in a quotation mark or question mark or something, you can end up breaking something. So we have come along and we've built a builder. Now, it's not yet in TransForm, but it is in Alpha Anywhere, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. What the builder will let you do is it'll let you choose from a variety of different actions, including that send email one that I just talked about, and the call a webhook as well. And it actually builds the all of the JSON for you. And best of all, it can actually transmit that JSON up to TransForm from Alpha Anywhere. And likewise, you can take any JSON that's in Alpha Anywhere and pull it back down into Alpha, in TransForm and pull it back down into Alpha Anywhere. So let me show you how that all works. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Alpha Anywhere, and I don't think there's anyone on this call, but maybe someone who watches this video later, Alpha Anywhere is Alpha Software's low-code development platform. It's used for building both desktop web and mobile applications. It's a Windows-based program, so you need to install the IDE or the development environment on a Windows PC. And the applications that it builds can run on the phone natively using PhoneGap, but we also have web applications. Again, that's also a Windows-based server that it runs on. But in this particular case, we're just going to use a tool that's built into Alpha Anywhere because it has this huge collection of tools, some of which I've shown you in previous episodes where we were building the on-device data. In this case, though, we're going to use a different one. So let me jump over to the demo. I'm going to go here and open up Alpha Anywhere. And here I am in Windows in my Alpha Anywhere development environment. Now I've got the control web projects control panel open here, and I'm going to choose tools. And then from tools, I'm going to choose more, and I'm going to choose transform utilities, and I'm going to choose builder for transform OnSubmit event. Great. And that opens up this dialog box. Now, if you don't see that, I think actually a version of this is available in the currently released version, but what I'm running right now is a pre-release. If you're interested in pre-release and you have Alpha Anywhere already installed, you can get to the pre-release by going to the Help menu and then choosing View Pre-release Notes. And that opens, and when that opens, you'll scroll down and you'll just basically grab this first link here, this full patch link, and it will install. Now here, this has a note. This is pre-release. It's not intended to be used in a production environment. That is great advice, but I think in this case, we don't really have to worry about that because the JSON that it builds is going to be used in TransForm. So it's not untested code at this point. So I would say most of the time, don't use the pre-release for anything production related. Today is the exception. I think you're probably okay using it with TransForm in this case. So let me close that. And we're going to go back into that builder, TransForm utilities, builder for TransForm OnSubmit event. Okay, so let me show you how this works. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click the Add Action button, and I'm going to choose from my actions. Now, before you get excited, and it is pretty exciting, all the options we have here, right now we only have built one for send email, report, and call webhook. So I've seen send to SQL database running on a developer's machine, but it is not currently in the pre-release. And I can't wait to demo it because it does some really cool things, including building out data structures for you if you need them. SMS messaging will be added soon, as well as the ability to merge data into a PDF form. And there'll be something called dispatch form, which I think the way that one works is when you send out a form, it knows to trigger the sending of, in other words, when you submit a form, it knows to trigger the sending of another form to someone else. We'll see, we'll get details on that later. Today, we'll just do send email. So I'm going to choose send email as my action, and I'm going to click OK. And now I'm going to go ahead and edit the action. And so I can put in who I want to send it to. So let's just say it's tfservice at alphasoftware.com. The format, let's choose HTML, and the form IDs, let's choose all of them. And that's basically all I needed to do to set up my OnSubmit event. Now, before I click OK and save this away, I'm going to be prompted with one more dialog box asking me, first of all, do I want to save the definition? And if so, what is the API key? So I'm going to show you real quick. I know most of you know how to get the API key, but let me just a quick review for how to get your API key from TransForm. When you're in TransForm Central, let me just open that up here, and you're on the Home tab, you can go over here to the tab that's marked Get API Key. And when you get the API key, you can choose what level of permissions. So all is the most amount of permissions. And typically you only want to use an API key that gives you just the permissions you need and none extra, just for security reasons. So there happens to be one called Edit OnSubmit Event. So that would probably be the one that I grabbed. I think in my example, I did in fact use an all key, but you can grab this one. And that's what you paste back into Alpha Anywhere. So when that's in place, I'm going to go ahead and save the definition. And it gives me a warning. Are you sure that you want to save this definition to TransForm Central? The existing definition, the one that's already in TransForm Central, is going to be overwritten with this definition. So I'm going to say yes, that's fine. Let's do that. And then confirm that the definition was saved to TransForm Central. Well, let's go over to TransForm Central and take a look and see what's happened. I'm going to go over here now to my Define OnSubmit event here under Developers Options. And you'll notice there is the JSON that was created. It's sending an email to tfservice. The subject is called simply transform data. It's going to take all of the forms, and it has this thing called an action ID. That's not something you have to worry about, but it's something that's used internally to the system, and it's required. Now, imagine, however, that I am working on a different computer than the one that I had originally set up permissions for. Or imagine that I had already filled in a bunch of JSON here the old-fashioned way, just by following the instructions and creating the JSON that way. I can take this data and I can actually pull it back from the cloud back into Alpha Anywhere. Let me show you how that works. Pop over here to Alpha Anywhere. We're going to go to Tools, back into TransForm Utilities, Builder for TransForm Submit Event. And what you do here is you click the Fetch Definition from TransForm Central. Again, it prompts you for an API key. Mine is already filled in. And when I click Fetch Definition, it sees my email event definition. So it can take that and then sort of parse it back so that it works back here on the TransForm OnSubmit Genie. You can test actions. For example, if I click here, I want to say test actions, But in order to do that, I'm going to have to first retrieve some sample data. So the first thing I'm going to do is choose a form. And I'm going to do that here where it says form name. I'm going to click select. And it's going to get a list of my forms. A lot of these I built but didn't actually put data into it. However, I think the one that's called HTML test, I have a bunch of forms that I filled out. So let me choose that. Okay, and now I'm going to say form instance ID, and I should be able to select, yep. So these are the first 50 forms that it found. This is a rather silly one. I think it was, yeah, this is, here I was just collecting sizes and radiuses and things like that. Let me just go ahead and click OK. So there's my sample data. And now I can click test, and an email was sent. I'm not going to go check my email. I did it earlier. It does work. Just trust me on that one. So let me just close that. And that's that. Obviously, you can delete actions. Same way here. You can add another action. This time we'll do the webhook. And we can edit the action. And here we would enter in the URL. And we could also specify headers. And we can also choose which forms we wanted to use. And let me see if there's anything else here. Not too much. There's one other feature here called import definition. So if you didn't have the API key, which you'll need at some point, but if you didn't have the API key and you just wanted to take, or you wanted to take some JSON that someone else had sent you, like this, you can actually import it using the clipboard by saying import definition. I'm going to paste that right in there. I'm going to click OK. And nothing has changed because it's the same edition. But if I had a different action there, you'd see a different action here in the action window. All right, I think we're coming close to the end of our discussion on this one, but do we have any questions so far on the TransForm OnSubmit chaining? So while I'm waiting for questions to come in, the one thing I'm just going to point out is that here in the builder, these other actions, you'll know that they're not done because when you click on them, although you can add them, there's no property sheet for it. It just comes up blank. But these will be added very, very shortly. I've seen this one in action, and it's really quite cool. Okay. So it looks like there aren't any questions on this new tool available in Alpha Anywhere. But do we have any other Alpha Anywhere questions? I see. When will this be in TransForm? That's a great question. We're building it out first as Alpha Anywhere. And then we're going to just wait for people to start using it. Once we're happy with it, we're going to do a web version of it. And the reason is that we can simply build it into Alpha Anywhere much faster than we can build it into TransForm. So, this functionality is here in Alpha Anywhere. You just need to have the developer edition. If you only need the developer edition just for creating these OnSubmit events and a couple other things, talk to our salespeople. We could probably do something for you if you're going to use it just for that purpose. Any other questions? I guess that's it then. Well, hey, thank you very much, everyone, for showing up. And I hope you found this useful. If you have any questions about TransForm during the week, you can always send them to tfservice@alphasoftware.com. Thanks very much, everyone, for showing up. We hope to see you next Tuesday. Take care and have a great week. Bye-bye.